Hi everybody, welcome to the January Supper Club. Hope you've had a great start to your new year. We are on what should be number 4 of our 5 Habits of the Heart with Parker Palmer, but we have decided to skip to number 5. Even though a lot of you may be seeing this in a few weeks, we are only about 7 days, tomorrow is just 7 days, since the tragedy in Connecticut. And the 5th of the Habits of the Heart is about the capacity to build community, and that certainly seemed appropriate given all that's happened here in our world in the last week. So we got thinking about community, and obviously we talk a lot about community in church. Gosh, the very fact that you are at a supper club, I think, says something about your desire to be a part of community. You already know about the value of community. So we wanted to get a little more focused this time and just talk about or focus on the capacity of community to heal, different ways that we are healed by community. So.
Yeah, the way we most often think about the healing power of a community is after the fact of something that's happened. So it can either be, a personal loss, something that feels maybe small to the rest of the world but feels very large to you, the death of a beloved pet, or the passing of a grandparent, or something that even is in the course of life events, but that when it happens, just makes your heart hurt in a really deep way. So it's that all the way across to horrific things that happen.
Right. I mean, we've seen the amazing response in Connecticut has been inspiring in so many ways, and so even though our hearts are broken, it's in those moments of seeing the power of love, the power of people coming together to support one another, that we're healed.
And it actually helps. I mean, it actually heals. So when you're in a really sad place and someone shares your sorrow, just by understanding or by saying, I get it, I actually feel my heart let go.
It's a physical
it's
thing.
a physical thing, and that healing really does happen when people care, and we know that. I mean, we witness that as pastors over and over again, of how having someone to walk a journey with you really does make a healing.
And it's often the case that you can't fix things after something's happened. You
can't change it.
Bring someone back who has died, or someone who's sick. You can't make them magically well. But what we call a ministry of presence in ministry circles is just showing up, being willing to be there and say, I hold some of this pain with you. It heals. And so the harder thing to get our head around when we got thinking about this, but we think it's true, is that certainly it's true that community also heals before things happen. One of the things that's in the national conversation right now is the question of whether this young man, whether his isolation, how much that contributed to the tragedy, and we get that question certainly even with the Aurora shooting, in every instance, the Columbine shootings.
The question came up as we talked about this, and we were trying to put our finger on how does community heal before the fact. It has to do a little bit with our responsibility. So if I see someone that I feel like is isolated, or I know is sort of cut off and not supported and traveling their journey alone, what's my responsibility to be a part of a community for them, so that we prevent something awful from happening. The church is really in a strong position to know about this. We practice this all the time, and one of our core values as a church, of course, is I'm not the center of everything. My faith constantly calls me out of myself to pay attention to the other, to the neighbor, to the stranger, to pull out of myself. And so church really is a place where we practice community. It's like a laboratory for building community.
And there's a core value in the church of inclusion that isn't always the case in other places where you might become a member of. Right. That we truly value that all are God's creatures, as you say, and so we're a motley crew, when we get together, and that's the way it should be, and our capacity to hold people who are different from us, who think differently, who act in ways are strange to us. If we can hold them in love and remember that they are children of God.
Yeah. We have that core value that we are a human family together, that because we are all God's children, because we are all in God's love, that we're connected to each other whether we want to be or not, you know, I mean, all the time. And we all know that that's the work, that's the hard work of community. I find it really interesting that Palmer, in the way he words this, he doesn't say we need to heal the heart of democracy. In order to do that, we need to create community. He says we need to develop the capacity to create community, which is a little bit different. In other words, what is it that allows us to be able to build community? And we thought that's really probably what we want you to talk about in your supper clubs tonight.
So is that's both what do you need as a group, but also within yourself? What are the character qualities within yourself that you have to develop?
Yeah. So it's not about how do we community organize. It's more about how do you build in yourself the capacity to create the kind of community that sustains people in a sad, difficult, challenging time, and the kind of community that can actually prevent horrible things from happening in our world. So it should be a short discussion.
Get that done. Well, have a great time.
Yeah.
We'll see you
next month.